So it's about the right time of year for resolutions, although I'm already pretty late because all this footage is actually from over a year ago. But that's okay because resolutions aren't normally my thing. My only real goal is to keep climbing and hopefully not get injured. Although I haven't really been climbing very much because we had, well yeah, this little dude. So will he be my kryptonite or will he unlock new parental powers? I don't know, but it does beg one question. Is dad strength real? Or not, or something like that. I don't know. Hey there. Thanks for sticking it through that intro. Sorry about that. I just kind of had to do it. But yeah, I guess long time no see. If you've been following along these videos, first of all, thank you for the support. I greatly appreciate it. And secondly, you're probably not all that surprised to find that I've taken a bit of a step back from climbing and only recently gotten back into it. Although intermittently, and if you want context for that, just check out the last few videos. But in the last actual climbing video that I put out, I talked about climbing as much as possible and sprinkling in some disorganized training, whatever that means, to try to get as strong as possible and just kind of ride that off into the sunset. In that video, I asked for some suggestions of climbing fitness tests I should try to kind of set my baseline, and I got a total of 0 suggestions in the comments, but that's totally okay because my son was born early and definitely surprised us, and then unfortunately a close friend of mine passed away, which kind of set this haphazardly plotted course in a completely different direction. And yeah, so I've arbitrarily just picked the Magnus Midtbø 9C test because YouTube. And even though I know many people call it the Magnus Midtbø 9C test, it's actually created by these guys, so hats off to them. And in all honesty, I actually picked this test because it's easy to do at home, both for me and for you. So you can compare and probably destroy me or whatever. And from a climbing fitness test standpoint, which I swear I'll get to in just a second, I really didn't know where I stood. I did some weighted pull-ups at the start of COVID for a very, very short period of time, but I've never actually tested myself, so I don't know where my baseline is at all. With all of that said, I have been getting back into climbing, and more recently I found myself climbing a lot of 6s and 7s in a single multi-hour session at a gym, which I tend to do. And at the end of one of these very long sessions, I found myself on a hangboard, which is also a rare occurrence for me. And I found myself pretty comfortably hanging on open hand and half crimps on a 7mm edge, which was a complete surprise to me. I didn't know I could do that. So I'm kind of really excited to just get right into this test, especially the first one, which is finger strength. And that involves hanging on a 20mm edge with the maximum amount of weight added as possible for 5 seconds. Now, I don't have one of those fancy wooden hangboards that the climbing gym has, but I do have a very old, greasy, caked on gross Metolius hangboard, which happens to have an approximately 2cm or 20mm edge on it. So let's get right into that test. Alright, so it's late at night, and I'll try not to use that as an excuse. I'm tired, but it's the only time I have to myself these days. But yeah, I'm glad to see that my harness still fits. I can't say I've used it very much, very recently at least, and I'm excited to try this 9C test. I don't think I'm going to score 9C, and I actually hope that I score pretty low, because that probably means that my technique is really good, and I'm much weaker than I actually climb, but I really don't think that's the case. But yeah, I've scrambled together some weights, so let's get right to it. So you might notice that I'm limited in the weights that I have to work with, so I just scrambled together whatever I had, including a 40-pound weight vest and a 25-pound kettlebell. And my first challenge was trying to figure out how I was going to string it all together.
quite literally. So, not enough weight, first go, kind of makes sense. Still not enough weight. Still not enough weight. Right, so somehow it's still not enough. Since I've never tried this before, I clearly didn't know my limits and used up all the weights I had readily available, so I had to kind of hunt around and see what else I had to use. And in my search, I found a case of metal threaded weights that go on a bar. I thought these would be perfect. So I went to go put them on, but the only problem was the older, bulkier weights took up all the space on the cordelette, and I had to swap out the older ones for the newer, more compact ones, and then put it all back together. In some disbelief that I was holding this for 5 seconds, I immediately did it again for good measure. And apparently I still didn't have enough weight, so I had to add the old weights back on with a second cordelette, which started to make my setup look even more ridiculous than I'm sure it already does. And yeah, I think I finally met my match. Whoops.
All right, so that was wild, I guess. I managed to pull an additional 100% of my weight before the cordelette sheared through from one of those metal weights that I added, making a loud noise but not waking the baby. So I think those are wins all around, and I do think I held it for at least 5 seconds, so it should count, and it did feel like max. I had to drop down to open-handed crimp, so I don't know if that counts. If it doesn't, maybe I'll roll back to the half crimp I did earlier, but I'm pretty stoked on that. It's a lot higher than I thought it was going to be, and I'm glad I put those pads down on the floor because I guess I have some good intuition, and I thought something like this might happen, so I protected the floor, and yeah, no real casualties other than I have to reconfigure my harness to hold weight for the weighted pull-ups, although I think I'm much weaker there and I won't need so much weight, so hopefully it's easier to figure something out really quick that'll work. So let's get right to that.
So I actually thought I could pull more, but to just get one more point, I had to go from 160% body weight to 180% body weight, so a 20% jump from the previous 10% increments. So yeah, a pretty dramatic increase, and it was beyond my limit. Without kipping, I couldn't get my feet off the ground. In fact, even with kipping, I'm not sure it would have helped. Actually, I'm certain it wouldn't have. So no extra point for me. Next was the test of my core strength, which for me was a hanging L-sit, considering how inaccessible a full front lever is with my short torso and long-ass legs. And finally, endurance, the max interval hang, which I was now hot and sweaty for, so cue the obligatory shirtless dress code as I try hard. I actually think this exercise is supposed to be done on a bar, maybe the pull-ups too, but I'm just working with what I got, so hopefully it yields the same results even though I can't wrap my thumb around a bar. So there you have it, the 9C test. My immediate thoughts are, I'm tired, and I guess my finger strength was the high point and everything else went kind of downhill from there. Yeah, kind of surprised in some ways, in other ways, not so much. I'm gonna call it a night. It's pretty late for me, so I'll tabulate the results probably tomorrow, but for you guys, it'll be in a few seconds, so stick around for that and a bit of a debrief, and we'll see you there. All right, so here we are, time to summarize. I'm gonna pull up my phone here, so I apologize for looking at it, to pull up some numbers. So on finger strength, I hung 200% body weight and scored a 9 out of 10. As mentioned, I had to open up my hand a bit, but upon further inspection, Magnus Midtbø's hand position looks awfully familiar, so I'm gonna count mine. I'm stoked on it. If your armchair score disagrees, you want to deduct a point for me, that's totally cool. You're welcome to do that. But yeah, I'm excited, and I honestly was really surprised even during the test in the moment. In hindsight, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised. After the test, I went out and I climbed a V6 and a V7 that I actually did twice with two different betas, one after the other. And then I went out another day, I sent several V4s and under and a V6 and a V7 that I probably could have on-sighted if I had just tried and looked at the problem first. So I guess in hindsight, I feel like I should have maybe known that I had some finger strength. I don't feel as athletic as I used to. I definitely don't feel as strong as I used to. And these problems were pretty finger intensive. So I guess it makes sense that I actually apparently have fairly strong fingers for my weight. But yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised. Next was power, and that was doing my pull-up max of 160%, which scores me a 7 out of 10. I'm not so surprised that this score is kind of going down because pull-ups have never been a strong suit of mine. And I think I also want to add a bit of a caveat there. I probably could have pulled more weight, just not the 20% that the test needed to get one more point. All of the previous point increments were like 10% body weight, and then it jumps up to 20%. And I feel like it could have benefited maybe from like a 0.5 point to find like maybe a more accurate total at the end of all this. So whatever that means. The third score was completing the 20-second L-sit, which led to 6 points. So you can see my points starting to dwindle here. I felt like this also could have been improved by like a 0.5, increase in points, because the L-sit is supposed to be like a core exercise, but for me, my hamstrings are really tight. It was more of a leg exercise trying to resist the back chain of my legs with the front, and not really a core exercise. And I felt like I also could have sat there for a lot longer in that position. It only required me to do it for 20 seconds and then I stopped, whereas I can't do front lever. I'm very long and not that strong. That rhymed. And I feel like I know I can do a front lever with one knee bent. So it feels like there's a gap there where there could be some more accuracy in the test. We'll see what the final score is. Maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, I guess the lesson learned on that one is to do more yoga. The last exercise focused on endurance. Again, I think because this felt more like
mental toughness or kind of pain management, because I'm not sure if I gave up because I was tired or just because it started to feel terrible. The burn, your shoulders, your forearms, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I could have stayed longer, but it started to kind of just hurt. And I'm not really surprised by this one at all, because I mostly just boulder. I get pumped really easy, and this is definitely a space I can improve on. So yeah, I hung for 2 minutes, which led to 4 points. So yeah, my weakest score. I'm not entirely surprised by any of that. But yeah, maybe if I'd figured out my max, hang earlier and my max pull up earlier and didn't try the 20% extra, maybe I'd have enough juice, to hang a bit longer and get a higher score. I hope to do this test again, and we'll see if I can improve on that score. So now for what we are probably actually waiting for here, the final total. So we'll get a drum roll again while I look this up. 9 plus 7 plus 6 plus 4 equals 26 out of a possible 40. So 65%. So not enough to get into university, but I got my high school diploma. It's pretty good, I guess. I think we need some more context for that. So according to the test, my limit grade should be an 8B. And I think I also need context for that. So I have ahead of time put some conversion charts into my list here. An 8B in North American is a 513D on the Yosemite decimal scale. As a boulderer, this still doesn't mean much to me. The hardest sport climb I've even tried is a 512. So if you believe that grades can be converted from sport routes to a boulder problem, those conversion charts say that V9 should be my limit grade. So I should be able to try really, really hard and send a V9 outside. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty accurate, actually. I have climbed a few V9s in a gym. I have sent V8 outside, and I have fondled some holds on V9s outside, and I have convinced myself, at least in my head, that I could send these problems. So I feel like this is pretty on point, and the test kind of nailed it, which is pretty cool and gives me that kind of baseline to start to see if I can improve that, and hopefully I can actually climb a V9 outside at some point. So yeah, is dad's strength real? I don't know. I guess being a dad gives you time off to recover from finger injuries. It helps you work your lock-offs by holding your baby at 90 degrees at all times. And yeah, I guess it makes you cherish the time you have to go out to the gym or the crag a lot more. I know it sure has for me. So can I answer that clickbait question that I've posed? I guess I can say that, number one, taking time off of climbing gives you a chance to get stronger in different ways and recover. Number two, that your body doesn't just fall apart by taking a fairly long break from climbing. And I guess there's a third truth that I can kind of speak to for myself, and I guess it's proved that I haven't really found my limit yet, which is pretty cool. So, is dad strength real? I don't know, but dad motivation sure as hell is. Actually, there's no science involved here at all. This is not even a real question, so I'm gonna say it. Dad's strength is real. If you believe it and I believe it, then it's real and it's got some power to it. So I'm gonna say it's real, and hopefully I can take that and prove it as I get outside and climb more. And with that said, if you're a dad or a mom or a parental figure at all and have any hot tips or tricks for climbing with a new baby or as your child starts to grow, I'd greatly appreciate it. As mentioned, I have a poor history of getting people to actually respond to my videos and comments, and I would sincerely appreciate any advice in that subject area or just parenting advice in general. I think I would greatly benefit from it. So please feel free to throw some of those down in the comment section. And I guess I'll just try to wrap it up here. I guess I'll see you guys out at a crag or the gym or comment section or wherever climbing parents hang out. So yeah, I guess that's it. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. Take it easy, and peace out.
He kicks his legs, he likes them.